views and opinions expressed by the host and participants are their own and do not reflect the view of the companies they work for.
Good morning, everyone. This is episode 6 of My Name is Mario, and today I had the pleasure to have a beautiful conversation with Eliza Jäppinen, the head behind Visible Realms, and they have given live to one of the favorite games of this person here, because the main character is named Cherry and she's curvy, so I like the idea that finally women are represented in different ways aesthetically than in other video games. So we talked about that, we talked about the past, we talked about the fact that she's half Finnish, half American, and she lived in Hawaii, and I didn't even know that, even though I know her for a while, but now I do. And you will see, it was very nice conversation, very relaxed, since we know each other for a while, and also we kind of like to talk, and we are two very unpredictable people. So there you go, we had a very funny introduction, and the conversation flew very, very well. So enjoy this conversation, please. And if you can, please do me a favor, click like. Don't subscribe if you don't want to subscribe, but at least click like, because it matters to me to see if people liked it or just watched it. If you can, it would be appreciated. Otherwise, just enjoy the show. Welcome, Eliza Jäppinen. Welcome. I know that this time is the right way to say it. In the past, I've been saying Eliza for whatever reason. I thought somehow I had to pronounce it the Italian way, but it's Eliza Jäppinen. Welcome.
I thank you for having me. And by the way, I always think it's okay to pronounce my name in whichever language that feels natural to you. I actually always enjoy hearing how other people pronounce things.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I've lived in so many different places, right? I've lived in Finland and I've lived in Hawaii, and I mean, that's not so many different places. It's two. The fact is that it's still so widely different, and I've met so many different cultures from that, Swedish, Finnish, English speaking, Japanese.
Sorry.
There's a truck outside now too.
You just ruined the whole intro simply because you dropped a bomb. I had like a beautiful let's go. You just said you lived in Hawaii, so now you need to tell us pretty much. I mean, I had plans on.
I'm so sorry.
And now you say I lived in Hawaii. I mean, you're the first person ever that I met.
Oh, really?
Ever met and lived in Hawaii.
You didn't know that about me? So I like the Helsinki to Hilo, the HH. Like Helsinki to Hilo is my hometowns.
Yeah, now you're just making me jealous. But please just go on.
Yes. Okay. So my dad's an astronomer, and when I was 8 years old, our whole family moved to Hawaii, and I lived there from when I was 8 till I was 15. Which is something that you will since we're not there yet, but we'll come to my project, right? Studio Killers. People often talk about what's with the style, right? But it's because I have Eastern European, influences, right? Then I have American cartoons from still all of the American television that I had in Hawaii, and all the anime that I got from the Japanese culture, which exists a lot in Hawaii.
Sorry for this. Do you realize it? You drop bombs. Like my father was an astronomer.
I know.
Father was an astronomer.
Okay, he worked for NASA as well. So.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
The coolest badge I have is when he was working at NASA, I got to go to Apple campus. So I have NASA and Apple campus badge going to go visit the Apple campus.
I don't know. It's okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So my father was an astronomer, and working at NASA, and I was living in Hawaii. Pietro,
Yes.
Let's start the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's do it.
No, it's beautiful. Okay. It's just it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's rewind in my mind for a second. I don't know what I wanted to start with now even anymore, because
this is exciting. We don't know anymore where this is going. I love it.
Okay, beautiful. So since we're talking about Hawaii, places I've never been to, and NASA, places I've never been to, and Houston, places I've never been to, let's talk about like your background
Yes.
and the journey into into gaming and entertainment, because like there is something about you that I said also before, a little presentation, but before anything else, we do the usual thing that I do on podcasts with my beautiful guests. And I have asked, as usual, to AI to prepare a bio based on something you wrote about yourself, a little bit of LinkedIn, and a little of what's found on the internet about yourself. And this is what I heard something in my, I don't know if you also heard it, I hope it's not, but anyway, so let's try to see what AI has to say about you, and then let me tell me if it's good. So Eliza Jäppinen is the CEO at Visible Realms and an entrepreneur in residence at Signum Growth, bringing over 15 years of experience in leadership roles within the entertainment industry. Her career is marked by significant contributions to gaming, music, and film TV, demonstrating a keen ability to blend these mediums effectively. Notably, Eliza played a key role in creating and producing the virtual band Studio Killers, which has seen immense popularity on platforms like TikTok with over 12 billion views. This achievement highlights her skill in utilizing new media and social media marketing to reach wide audiences. Her work extends beyond music into the realms of gaming and TV, where she's known for her innovative approach to developing franchise IPs with a particular emphasis on gaming. Eliza has collaborated with well-known companies such as Eastside Games, Ubisoft, Titmouse, and Rovio, contributing her unique perspective and expertise to various projects. Eliza's approach to entertainment and media is characterized by her commitment to exploring new ways of engaging audiences and building lasting franchises. Her efforts continue to shape the future of how stories are told and experienced across different platforms.
Woo! Can you send that to me so I can listen to it in front of the mirror and like get pumped up?
And feel like every morning.
I'm so good.
Yeah. Also with the music.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum,
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
Brushing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Put a nail polisher. I cannot.
Love it. And where is your nail polish?
Right. So quickly. So we keep like this is really off the script. Whole thing so far beautiful, like 5 minutes of completely off script. So what happened to that is that when you met me, and a few times I was using the hybrid, black and yellow are my two favorite colors, but then the nails started becoming like so weak and thin and fragile, and then I had to take a break, and then I haven't done it anymore. Also because I already mentioned this, it's not something that I'm very happy about. I'm not afraid, but here in Poland people still like judge that. So I'm very happy to do it when I travel, when I go to Finland, when I go to Sweden, when I go to Denmark, when I go to Norway, when I go to almost everywhere. Here it's still, so I also prefer, I saw people giving me the look, right? Giving me like a
side eye.
I shouldn't care, and I didn't care many times, but also I will do it again.
With stuff like that, it's like you should do it also when you feel comfortable to be brave about it. Because there is obviously issues of safety in the world, actual safety issues. So if one doesn't feel safe, I think, it's fine. It's fine to, if you're not ready to take it on, then it's fine to like do low key.
It kind of clashes, it collides with my idea of doing it just also to show to my daughter that you shouldn't be afraid of anything. That's the original idea.
So hard, right, in front of the kids to like. I've had conversations with my son about these things because he wanted this hat, with the little kitty ears, and it was definitely for girls from H&M when he was like, I'm gonna say 6 or something like that. It's super cute, and he was just like, I want this. And I was like, okay. And, it was one of those times where, the boys and the girls were kind of gender awakening to the like having those kind of talks to like you're being, you're not a boy, or like that could come up. And I was just like, okay, I absolutely love that you want this hat. You can absolutely have it, but know that it isn't necessarily the norm, and this is how your peers might react. Are you ready for that? And he thought about it, and he got kind of nervous, because like, who wouldn't? That doesn't sound so great, right? Like, because you want to go in and feel like everybody's gonna love my cool hat. Not everybody's gonna judge my cool hat. So but he actually chose to get it, and then he did wear it, and he didn't wear it much because he did feel a little uncomfortable about all of that, but he did, and now it's passed on to my daughter as well.
Okay, wow. Well, that's a beautiful story. I actually have done something recently with Kiki, with my daughter. By the way, I never said her name is Chiara, so we call her Kiki. And we did the same because she has like long, hair till here. She's totally annoyed by her hair. She constantly wears like an airband and like, and then she said, I wanna cut my hair short like daddy. And I was like, ooh, okay.
Oh,
I said, okay, we do it. Let's go. I did the same, but yes, I did exactly the same. And I told her, if you are prepared to the other kids, especially because we are in Poland, so still certain things are not that super well accepted. Kids might tell you, you look like a boy, right? Yeah. If you're ready for that, you need, then it's great. Daddy is always gonna be with you, next to you. I'm gonna support you, and I'm gonna love you. So don't worry, but you need to be ready. And then she's like, eh. And so we're still like, the hair is still here for the moment, and she wears like more hairbands. Maybe she found like a big one for sports, like so that keeps like a hair behind.
You could shave the one side and have like, so that's like a little punk rock. might even be more controversial then,
Yes.
like, whoa.
For me, it's like whatever she wants. I don't know.
So I loved it. That was interesting. How did all of this happen? Where did I get started? Wow. I mean, ultimately, I've never really fit in because I literally went from Finland to Hawaii at the age of 8. So I was an odd bird in Hawaii.
You're born in Finland, and then you moved to
Actually,
Hawaii.
I was born in Sweden, but when I was a baby, we moved back to Finland. So my family's all from Finland, but because of my dad's job, he was moving around, right? So I was actually born in Sweden. I'm the only one of my siblings who was born in Sweden. Everybody else was born in Finland. And then we lived in Finland until I was 8. And then we moved from Finland to Hawaii. And I grew up in Hawaii from when I was, 8 till I was 15. And then I moved back to Finland. At age of 15, I actually ended up living alone. I went to Vasa, which is up north, and then later came down to Helsinki. All of this has meant a couple of weird things. So I'm a Swedish-speaking Finn, which makes me a minority in Finland. I don't actually speak Finnish because when I went back to high school in Finland, they were like, okay, you're probably going to go back to the US, and we don't really have a class for you to like in your age level, like age 15, to learn Finnish because you're not really a foreigner. You're not really, they didn't know where to put me. I would have to have been older to go into that. So they were like, well, you can just skip it and take some other classes to like make up your curriculum instead. And they were certain I was going to move back to the US, which is funny because I never did. But so I'm sort of in that way. I've always, I'm almost a tourist in my own country, because I speak mostly English here. I'm not even that comfortable with Swedish anymore. Oh my God, my cat is just going crazy here. Of course you would do that. Come here, kitty. Come here. Come say hi to the camera. I got into the university and the art university like quite late. I was actually doing web pages and stuff early on. I really like digital arts. I had taught myself how to use Photoshop and stuff when I was like a teenager because I dated nerdy guys. So I really like intellect. Like I'm super into people who are intellectual. And I mean, I'm into all people, so it's also not dependent on gender. But okay, hey, kitty, Now you can come say hi. You want to come say hi? There we go. This is Ludo. We sometimes call him the creative director because he will rip off drawings from the wall. He's a fierce guy.
Okay,
Look at him. Look at him.
hi Ludo.
All right. I ended up teaching myself how to use Photoshop, all of that stuff before anyone was teaching it anywhere. I ended up teaching it actually to people older than me a little bit. Like that was my first job, was actually teaching these programs. And ultimately, long story, boring. I was really into animation most of all. And it was a time where I couldn't like look online and go, oh, where do I go to a, like a university where they teach animation. And I was just told that if I wanted to do something with characters and stuff, graphic design was maybe the closest at the university. I went to graphic design course and I dropped out 1.5 years to join a company who was starting to make animated TV series. Well, what they wanted to do was essentially make trailers and teasers and then sell these concepts. And that studio lasted for about 2 years. But it was from that I found some business partners or some of the people who worked there. And we decided to make our own animation studio, which wasn't just focused on making TV series. We were like, okay, well, the business model doesn't work. It takes too long to get a TV series greenlit. So you're like forever in this no man's land of like you're just sinking in money and nothing is coming back. So we thought, okay, I mean, there were so much advertising agencies that loved what we were doing, and we thought, hey, let's just become like the advertising arm and still try to make the TV series. So we had an animation production service studio, mainly for commercial work, and then we would then we would still work on our own ideas. And it was through this that I ended up meeting the people who were the musicians behind Studio Killers. They actually contracted our studio about it. And the character, Cherry, I had actually drawn her before that as a character that I thought was really cool. I just didn't know who she was supposed to be until I heard the music. And then when I heard the music, I was like, she's a pop star, of course. Because she was this, plus-sized character, beautiful and fierce. And I thought, well, what a better way, when the pop industry was literally like writing out women who were plus size, they would like body double a voice, like they'd go, let's get the skinny girl to act out the beautiful, the plus size woman's voice, So I was like, no, make no mistake. We've drawn her this way. This is how she's intended. There's no way. This is going to be the funniest podcast. It's so hectic.
It's okay.
It's
okay. It's okay. I take it.
It's so natural.
This is My Name is Mario. Here we're talking about the people. So if you have cats and you like cats can interact.
So it was one of those things where I was just like, yes, this is so cool. This is such an interesting idea. And it felt like it was really needed. I can say that we made some music videos. Well, we started with the first music video, which was Ode to the Bouncer. And then we made a second music video. But after that, I started to realize that the producers in my company, I was the creative director, couldn't figure out like a business model around it that was going to work. The music industry you were never going to get that kind of money to make animated videos after animated videos. Like the budgets for music videos were just going down and down. And we had gotten grants and things originally to pioneer in this space at the beginning. And my whole thing was like, I wanted it to look like $1 million. I think I kind of shot myself in the foot there because that was, like it's hard appearance to keep up if you don't have millions, but that was generally, the thought. And I could see it, I could see the technology. I was really into, as I said, working with digital art. I could see how down the road we were going to get motion capture. We were going to get, more and more real-time animation things that are going to technologically advance, that having virtual avatars who act and live and be very present online and in TV series and things was going to be a thing. So until that moment, I just sort of built out the minimum viable product of that, which was like cool artwork on social media, some small videos that we would manage to put together. I've used most of the tech that is for like motion capture in like what I can do by myself at a computer. And I think the whole time it's been a struggle in like that side, but we're getting even further and further into it. I feel like we're even more so now there. But I was too early, and I went out. I actually left my studio. As I like to say, I ran away with the band. And,
Okay.
I ran away with the band because being a virtual pop star seemed like such a fun idea. And I just wanted to know where this could take us. And I was like, there's got to be a business, because I could see that there was an audience desire for it. Like the audience really wanted this. Of course, I learned there is a problem with the industries. You have the music industry, you have the TV film industry, and you have the game industry. And this was before I touched upon gaming. But when I was looking at the TV and film and music, they were like miles apart. Actually, those are the two furthest on the spectrum from each other on business level in production.
Why?
And
Ah,
so in production, right? So what it takes to produce music is so much shorter time period, and so the production cycle is short, right? And then you're supposed to put it out there, and then there's marketing around it. And mostly it's probably the marketing costs that are the costs. And and then you're getting, and ultimately also the payments, right? It's micro payments. And this is when CD was gone. You're already now on Spotify, YouTube, streaming stuff, and the micro transactions are so small that you really need to get that out to such a vast audience. Which means that what are you going to get back per millions of views is not going to cover the hundreds and thousands it costs to make a music video that's animated, and that's the thing with animation. On the other hand, it took like a year for each music video, like, even with a team of like 5 or 10 on occasion. The last music video, Jenny, I made like 90% by myself, because I left and I just was like, okay, I'll just draw it and animate it myself and figure it out. And then I was working with people in Hollywood, and everything with them. They were, at that point, Hollywood was like, what's this internet thing? No, we do it our way. And they were like, don't do anything on the internet. That's, like, I guess, for the losers. I don't know if that was but it was like, they didn't know, they didn't like the lack of control. Like that Hollywood always has this, like, I want to have control over the situation. And totally understandable, because what they're looking at, what I've understood, is they're looking at putting millions, right, of funding, several millions of funding to get one piece of entertainment out, be that a TV series or a movie, and this is tens of millions to hundreds of millions that we're talking about. Of course, they want control. So this was another problem. I loved being like right there in front of the audience and talking to the audience and being close to them. And I could see that as the future as well. And I think if we've like fast forward to today, you can see how integral it is to have community, right? Like the community building and being right there. And that was what I was working with. And that's what I found with gaming, is that gaming has brought community. Like gaming and community, they're doing it. And they're still doing what I consider the Hollywood. They aren't really doing it. Only AAA is doing the Hollywood level narratives. But there's no reason not to be doing all of those cool narratives as well, and being really holistic with this. And that's to me is like I came from this direction, but what I've seen is just that gaming ties the two, because it's kind of in the middle together. And ultimately, obviously, it also makes you like go direct to consumer. You can actually find out if there's a product, because they're paying for it either through microtransactions in mobile, or a premium fee if it's Steam. If you've decided to do that type of a sale, you have some sort of understanding of what you're going to be making back Whereas, with music, as I said, it was just, you're just taking from all these streams and you don't know how it's
the model is different, right? I mean, I hear I'm
yeah.
studying because I know nothing about music, so it seems to
Yeah.
be like very very
Also,
different, the model of
yeah.
of releasing content, the speed, the timing, the amount of marketing, and when marketing comes in.
Yeah. So really what I'm looking at is I like working in that space where it's very holistically much more transmedia, and that it isn't just like, oh, I just make the games, I'll let someone else do the marketing, and then, then you get kind of like really, I guess, aggressive marketing, I would say, like that marketing that's just, click me, click me, click me, instead of something that is actually interesting you.
And this is the moment where you decided to. So when is the moment that you decided to go into the gaming industry? Because that's very interesting, right? Because like in general, like switching from, I don't know, like I imagine where if you're working with Hollywood, you're working with music, and then you think like, video games, is it the natural transition or not?
I'm obviously a product of my environment as well, living in Helsinki, Finland. The game scene here is pretty huge, and the companies that were
Yeah.
having the most success were gaming companies. That makes you, if you're trying to build a business, that makes you think. That's one thing. The other thing is my partner is hugely into games. He has a Mario tattoo on his leg. He has the entire time that I've been doing all of this, and he's been a huge help in creating a lot of, things with me during this journey. And without him, by the way, we wouldn't have had a live show, because he went to GDC and he saw this motion capture ware there, and he brought it home. Like he got a demo ware stuff so that we could work with it. And we produced 1 hour of animated content with this live show crew as like, it was, I think Immersive was the name of the people who put together the actual live show. But we did a lot of like, whenever Cherry would be there, we did all of that. And we did that with emotion. So it was actually facial motion capture. And then it got bought up by Apple. So that's not, that's, like before Apple bought it, we got to play with it. And that's how we got a live show with, bubblegum solutions. And that was exciting. Both of us were so excited about what we could be doing together. Again, I love the digital and art combined, along with behavioral things, right? It's really cool to see that what the audience is actually doing versus what the industry thinks. And I think most of the time there's a lot of disconnect because they don't do the community thing. We were constantly, I always had like one foot in the scene because of him, like I was always talking about it. And I was looking at what was happening, on mobile. Mobile felt the closest to me as something, but sometimes it just didn't feel like it was mature enough to want to kind of carry the stories or get to the audience that I was looking for, connecting with. And then I ended up working with Eastside Games because I was working for a company called Unicorn Pirate Studios. I was a producer there.
So I wonder if you ever met Nicolina
Yes,
Finska.
she was the CEO. So Drag Race Superstar.
Drag Race Superstar. Okay,
yeah.
What was happening there?
So it's a fashion mobile game, but in the sort of East Side Games way, right? It's what do you call them? It's a tycoon. You're essentially just clicking and increasing your success rate in this. And the idea was that you were going to be a drag race superstar and you're going to get all the likes. But it was a fashion mixed with this idol clicker. What really came to mind was that Cherry has always had a strong fashion angle. I would do these outfits of the day with the character as like just content, and people really, really loved that. And I was like, hey, this is something, this is something I could do, but what's the storyline? And I kind of, from that, I started to develop the idea for the pilot, because I had been trying to develop a TV series for a while with Hollywood, and there was lots of ideas being thrown around. and nothing really felt right until I came up with the notion that, I think she's a magical girl. I feel like the Sailor Moon level thing about it, that would be great. I think it's the one that makes the most sense, like that has some grounded understanding for the public that you can then build. Because I would always do such wild, design art with her that it was almost like, how do you make that into a story that doesn't just become, too artistic to have any kind of, I guess, personal resonance, right? So I was like, okay, the magical girl thing is a trope that everybody kind of can get behind, and the fashion is really strong with this character. So I did a Kickstarter for the pilot. It got funded in 48 hours, and then I got a grant to make the game. And what was exciting about that was that as I was looking at all this, my general idea was that I had been working, Studio Killers had been gaining all of this momentum, by the way, all the time. So it always felt like it's the one I definitely should be continuing with. And even when I was after I had done the pilot Kickstarter in 2020, before we even had the pilot done, it blew up on TikTok, right? And that's when we got like 12 billion views, right?
12 billion views.
12 billion views. So it just was crazy. And we had 9 record labels call us in the same week. And this was at the same time where I was like, I was midway of the pilot, funds are running out. I'm like, this is so much harder than it ever ought to be making animation. Like, then we signed a deal with Atlantic, and I was like, they were like, okay, we need all this marketing material. I'm like, I'm in the middle of making a pilot. Like, it has a deadline. We have the fan base. And the game, like all of these things. What I can say is like the music industry, it's all about the moment, the hype, like it's the rule of cool. You got to get all the cool. TV is all about like who wrote it. It's the bingo of names. You just want the most incredibly vetted people because it's a hard job and they really need to know what they're doing on it. And then gaming, my favorite. You put it out there and you see what people think and you make it better every time you go. That's why I love gaming. Especially mobile gaming. I love a soft launch. I love it because you can try some wild things. You can do,
Yes.
You can get there, and then you can improve on your thesis. It's very fascinating. But I love like trying to figure out what it is that's happening here, and then make sense of it. Slowly but surely. I still think it's very key that we're very close to the audience, like we very holistically connected.
Well, it's everything about the community, right? Like, especially for mobile, Like in free to play, it's all about that. There are a couple of companies, without repeating myself like many times, but that I really love the way they are trying to. Well, everyone is focusing on the community, but some companies, especially in Finland, are thinking about that, about the community, for the community, and not just for the sake of increasing monetization, increasing revenue, if you know what I mean. Without getting into any politics whatsoever.
No.
But for me, I like that idea. I like that idea that you said, like, I want them. So now we are at the moment, we're in a state where we have a lot of cash. We made a lot of cash thanks to them. Now's the time to give something back. And that is something that, without saying names, everyone know who they are. But, in Finland, I talked to people, said, like, we want to give something back. We want them to be happier. We are here. We're big, and we're doing this for them now. And we want to clean also the community from toxic behavior, even though that means that we're going to lose some spenders.
Yeah.
Right? I heard with these years, this story, when I heard it, I thought, like, this is beautiful. So consciously making the decision to lose spenders to make the community healthier. How cool is that?
I think there's a lot to be said about, I guess, being a little bit more sustainable in the way that you're thinking about your business too. Not every one of the community especially if they're a bunch of haters, is necessarily good for the people there or for the project in and of itself. And I do think that there's a mental health aspect to being this close to the community. And I would say that going forward, making projects, I really want to set some standards in like, this is my place of business, please respect, the work and effort of the people. As I said, it's like, it might look easy to you, but it isn't. That's an awful lot of work that goes behind a lot of these things. And I mean, if you don't treat, people around you that you go to, like your grocery store or to a restaurant that way, why are you treating people online with that kind of commentary? It's to me, that's a little baffling. But I think it's more that we just haven't laid out ground rules. I think that when you do, I think people tend to adapt.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Well, once, what happened? So look how ignorant I was until it was 5 or 7 years ago, something like that. Not far back, but and I'm talking to. No, there is a friend of mine, Natasha from Brazil. She was a good friend of mine, and she posted something on Facebook. So we're still talking about the Facebook times, saying about video games and toxic behavior against women. And I was, oh my goodness, I'm shy even saying this thing. I'm ashamed of myself. Like, but it's like, come on, you're exaggerating. What the heck are you talking about? I mean, don't please, especially because I consider myself as, I work in the video game industry. I'm a gamer. What, I should know. Yeah. Holy guacamole. It was, and then she said, Pietro, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut the heck up. Right?
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, no, she told me that, and I was like, me, why you tell me? And then she sent me like a link, and then another link to go and check what is this, and then videos, and then I started being like, jaw dropping, or like basically women playing Call of Duty, it's like they are said things, and I was like, what the? I never heard it, but because also maybe there were women in my team, they were not saying anything. They were not saying I'm a lady, or I'm a young girl. It was incredible the things that were said just because like you are a woman. So word 1, word 2, word 3. It's like, why? And I realized I was ignorant. I didn't know anything about it. And yes, I should have shut the hell up.
If you go too deeply into the subject matter, then that becomes all your identity is in the business, just this person who's like upset by these things, as opposed to the person who's like so creatively excited about the work, and I think that that's so sad, sad that we can't speak up and also still be there for the work without it being conflated as like you're here on an agenda, because the agenda being it's my job, like I love this, and I that's the thing is, all things said about gaming, about reasons why I ended up in it, I love it. I absolutely adore it. I have the most fun designing, creating games, but because again, if you look at what my path was, is like digital art, right? Like I love digital art. Then I looked at like narrative and storytelling, and now I'm like, I love the complexity of the narrative and storytelling that's coming along with the digital art form of gaming, and to me, it just tickles my brain. Like I just get so excited about all of the different ways that also the platforms. I'm totally platform agnostic, but I chose mobile for this one because this was something I felt like, okay, I had done mobile. I knew what I was doing. I could do that. I have done a VR game, previously. And now I'm looking at like Roblox and Fortnite, mainly because it's also in that social sphere, right? Like of stuff that I've been doing. But I love what it means in game design, looking at something like Roblox or Fortnite, because when it's so social that it changes your understanding of what the game should be, and then the community is another thing, because you're not going in there in a vacuum, right? Going like, this is the game I want to make, I'm just going to make it. You're also looking at like, what's the community into and why? And a lot of times when I do that, I get excited about culture and the cultures within, what youth culture is up to, what tropes of our current time, that we're living in, and what does it say about us? What does it say about our experience, our human experience, and that's really like, artistically, that's what tickles me, is like, what's the human experience? And then intellectually, it's like, oh, there's a new area. I haven't thought of that. And what could I think of that might be really exciting here?
That is when I met you. I think it's back already almost 3 years ago, right? I met you. It was a PGC Connect in Helsinki. So we sat there, we talking about like your game, and I'm there thinking, okay, you tell me all your story, and in my head there is this like, okay, I'm doing business, like, doesn't seem good. Then you show me something, right? Then you showed me like your game, and it was like, nice. So for those, I'm gonna put maybe some links here, maybe also here. But I'm gonna put her maybe here. I also probably also, before we were talking about Cherry, there's gonna be like some picture of her. I'm gonna try to put it there. But that was the beauty of the game. That's what really caught my eyes, caught my heart also. Because I was thinking, so what Cherry is this main character of the
Studio
of this
Killers.
game,
and the game,
and the game. Of course, I saw the game at that moment, so like for me, it was the game. And then she's beautiful because, first of all, like she already mentioned, Eliza, but she kind of described the thing like people know what it is, like, while we know it and her community know, but not maybe everyone who's listening. But it's a beautiful character. It's oversized, but it's beautiful, and that also kind of like get into my, fill my heart with joy, just simply because I've been fighting a battle that I've been losing for years already, about the stereotype of women and the representation of women in games, which I can understand why it's there, because of course the majority of the players are men, but still I just personally don't like it. I don't like it. I would, and then when I saw your game, I thought, this is a game I would like my daughter to be exposed to, because she cannot touch phones, iPads or tablets. But that one, I decided that we're gonna play it together, and we've been playing it together ever since. You know it. I sent you pictures, screenshots sometimes of how we dress up Cherry. But it's beautiful because she does this style battle. So the story is, you go around and there is a planet A, planet B. They're gonna be erased. So you battle with random encounters, and you go, you want to get into the battle style? Yo, sure, no problem. Beautiful. And then you play like match 3. But before that, to have an advantage in the match 3 phase, you need to win the style battle. So you need to dress her up. So there is that hashtag pink, for example. So you need to put pink things, or hashtag basic, hashtag this, hashtag black, hashtag elegant, blah 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 blah. I think I'm describing it quite well, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing a decent job. And then you play the game, of course, and then you dress up, and then you have like the a few sections, and then you have like shoes and socks and jackets and t-shirts and many things, and that's beautiful. You can buy them, and it's fantastic. So I'm very happy that my daughter is exposed to that, because it gives actual view on women. That is what women are most of the time, and no one needs to try to aspire to be at that. I've been fighting for years. I've been saying this for years. It's something that still annoys me. I shouldn't even be caring that much, but for some reason I am. And it's incredible. And for me, the pinnacle of my maybe not anger but disappointment was playing one of the games that I love the most, which is The Last of Us Part 2. Well, The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, where the main character, despite being in a post-apocalyptic world, she's this, we call it in Italy, like chitarra, forma di chitarra, so the guitar shape woman. Did you think like, maybe not not necessary? It's like, why? Where does she has the time to train like that, to have that shape? I mean, she's shooting deers like every second day, and then like, and for me, it was like, no, this is too much. Why? Well, do you have an opinion on this or?
Well, I mean, I think that, I mean, a lot of times, most of the studios are still male in all of the hierarchical things, and I think when it comes to the female characters, it's still with the male gaze, obviously, and I think. I've heard people say that my game has a very queer gaze, which is, I go like, but it's also women looking at women, right? Like I'm looking at the beauty of just like beautiful clothes, right? And I didn't think, and then the plus size side was also, I let them be like, they can, as you see, there's skimpy outfits in it, there's really baggy big outfits in it, there's no judgment on that. I played a lot of the fashion games, like Love Nikki, and I loved it as a game, and then I was so irritated by the little cat who was like, you didn't dress cute enough for this date, and I was like, fuck you, cat. I dress however the fuck I want for my date. I was just like, I was so pissed off at the little like cute chibi cat. I was like, yeah, take you to town, to throw down with you and me, buddy. And I was like, this is kind of awful, like what it's telling me about how I should feel about myself. And with the game, I thought, how do we, because if you're doing like a style battle, normally the style is like you're comparing, like how much better are you dressed than this person. And I just wanted to take that away. In the game, each of the opponent, as you notice, they're not really particularly dressed up. It's just that they're your nemesis in the situation, and you with your fashion, you get power from that. So I say it's like Dragon Ball Z with Sailor Moon, where you're like blasting people with a fireball. And really where I kind of would love, like, I was like, this is my first minimum viable product, but where I want to take it to like a sandbox adventure where you're just like in the full 3D costumes, just blasting people, like full on Street Fighter rage. Because that's how I felt about the little kitty. I was like, let me dress up. We're gonna see. And what I loved when we were making the fashion system was that I was like, how do we design this that it makes sense, but also, like it's free enough that you don't feel completely restricted. And that was something we planned a lot around. And with the hashtags, it was more like, let's just offer a lot of different options within those hashtags. So you got a lot. The other thing I loved is that all of the styles, ultimately, when you start, because they're really colorful and weird, expressive, some are really toned down. When you put them all together, they always end up into these glorious hot messes. And what I noticed is that Teemu, who was developing the game, started dressing like in the game. He started like putting on all weird clothes and things together. And he'd go like, look, that person's just style battle like. And I'm like, I love this. This is so interesting to watch him express himself, and get really excited about clothes in a way that, because I think fashion for all of us, like as I said with my son and that hat, he loves fashion. He would actually, I think he'd be a lot more into it if there were more options for him. Like he looks for colorful pieces of clothing in the stores, and they're all black and khaki and navy, and like if anything, then it's like a graffiti hoodie, that has colorful things on it. But there's very little in that space, and I think that ultimately there's just this notion that it still comes back to like that 1950s, like dress proper for the occasions, and it's a very feminized idea. But look, Fortnite is a fashion game. Yeah. and it's like 80-90% men. Their entire economy is skins and how to express yourself.
Why do you think it didn't work? because I thought the game was amazing. I'm still playing it, by the way, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the metrics within the demographic in which it is exciting, it's great. Like all our numbers are amazing, but it's just that I think that actually I have no idea. Theses are that my demographic is 15 to 25-year-old, and match 3 is just like a dying, thing, and me using that,
it's that combo.
Yeah. It's that combo that the match 3 and that it's considered a little bit for an age up. I think it took down the perception of the game for what it could be, and I think audience perception is like the match 3 is like dead, and then because it's 15 to 25-year-olds who are really young and hip, it's even more dead. The reason for match 3 for me was this: it needed to be more engaging than just the comparative, fashion thing. That was just gonna be boring. And I wanted something that was fairly universal. I want all our games to really be approachable. Like they should all be. I love the Nintendo ethos that it is for everyone. And I think that that's ultimately what I want to do, is things for everyone. I have done a lot of Rockstar stuff, which means like going out and being completely individualistic. And I think I'm sort of shifting my concept of what that means. Like, because I still love being like bold, but I want to be bold, but something that is, something that everybody can kind of find something in. And so for me, that was the match 3 mechanic. I was like, that's easily understood. And I still look at like, what are those mechanics that anyone could play, 3-year-old to a 60-year-old, and they could all get behind and understand how to play this game. I might have to think a little bit about, that content and demographic, and how to make that more as well, like open. But then again, I mean, Cherry's a very cool, very specific, very, interesting underground character. And that's my second thesis. You know how people like won't buy a t-shirt if it's a band t-shirt because they don't know the band, even how cool the t-shirt is. So even if you're like, this is a really cool t-shirt, oh, but it's a band t-shirt and I don't know the band, so I won't buy it.
Yes. I do that.
Yeah. So I think to some degree, like, as cool as the Studio Killers brand is, the fact that it existed, all of these iterations, and that whole culture existed online, and at this point had reached to the point where at least I think most people had at least some understanding that Studio Killers was a band. Maybe they didn't listen to the music, but they did get that aspect of it. That I think the fact that it was a brand that then they didn't really fully know was that dissonance of like, oh, I don't know, like, can I get behind because I don't know the band?
Okay. Can we just try to make sure at least that in the future Cherry has another life?
Has another life? Ooh. Yeah, I mean, she has a huge life in my head. I don't know that she'll ever go away anywhere. For the time being, I've decided that it is more, I want to try some other things, and I want to start from game first with them because I just love what I learned. But she's there. She's not going to go away. We have a new song coming out very soon. There's been some snippets teased on the socials. So that's exciting. So definitely not a halt on that. But when it came to like the TV series, and by the way, we also pitched the TV series. Like, we got the pilot done. We pitched the TV series. I got Titmouse on board to help develop the show. Then we pitched it. It was the beginning of last year, 2023. And that's just when like all the SVODs were having like the hardest time, and they were like laying off people, and they got really conservative, and they all loved the pitch. Like they with Titmouse, like they were all like, yeah, they seemed really impressed by that, and I think Titmouse really believed in the project, but they all came back with a no. And my takeaway is, when I have asked like behind the scenes a little bit more, is that it's a show, it's an animated series for 15 to 25-year-old women, and that scene they have not been able to break that demographic, and so it's seen as an area where they just don't think that so they'll say women don't want to watch animation, but I'm like, most of the stuff that you've made was like Family Guy and, you know, The Simpsons and stuff like that. Has some pretty strong male like aspects to it in storytelling. Also, they say that, like they said, they had tried a couple of things, and you know, it wasn't doing well. But ultimately, when I look at the shows that they're talking about that they tried to make that are female directed, it's kind of more like a gender swap of the same content. So they're not changing tonality or anything like this. And so I think what we're seeing here is there's just not enough data and not enough information, because there's and then nobody's trying it. So they're not going to get any more data or any information to better understand that audience, which is why I'm going to continue in gaming and through socials to tell stories, to learn about that audience and ultimately share it with them to hopefully, you know, break down some of those difficulties, because I fully get it. You're not going to put tens of millions into a project that you don't know if there's an audience for.
However, I still wonder if you're never breaking that sort of audience, that demographic.
But I mean, they
don't
did
understand it.
And I mean, ultimately they did. Now Hell of a Boss did it, you know, they did that with so Hell of a Boss, you know, and that's also YouTube originally. I think also Hell of a Boss is conceptually, narrative wise, it started conceptually, narrative wise a lot sooner than what I did with Studio Killers, and I think it's a lot more organically smart, and like ultimately you have something even more relatable. As I said, I feel like I came a little too late in with figuring out the story for those characters, and I think it became difficult because of the legacy of that to make something that was going to be like really approachable and relatable, and that's what I wanted to do, and I have. And I probably could, because it's like I love problems, like it's so I'm gonna like keep working on it in my head, and it's all about the characters, because your characters drive everything.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. You know, I'm not in 15 to 25 anymore, just by 2 years. You know, I'm 27, so I'm not that into that demographic anymore. But it's, you know, I wish something more was done, like on that one, and I think that the character that you made has like great potential. She's witty, she's great, she's funny, she's tough, she's, you know, she's bald, I don't know, it's beautiful. That whole idea is great. Well, so I really wish I would see her in another game, maybe in a console game even, where there are not only battle styles, style battles, but there are also, you know, the story, and then there is also maybe a dance style. You know, remember the song?
I know. I mean, there's so many things game wise that I would love to do for Studio Killers, and I'm pretty certain we will continue making some things in the future. But I need a little breathe. You know, like I said, I need to do some other things, get some other like information to get clarity, because it's not. I'm really in like I'm unfortunately pioneering, and I don't necessarily wish I was, you know, because I wish I could like have my sisters and other people out there making for this audience that I could go, oh, you did that well, interesting, I could do that, you know, like it would make it a little bit easier than being like, I gotta figure out the wheel, I just want to drive the carriage.
Yeah, you know? I get the feeling.
But yeah, and then luckily there are so many other women out there, so I'm like shouting out to every single one of them when they are, you know, making their way, like the Hell of a Boss creator. I mean, badass, love that. I was so excited. I was like, yes, one more. That means there's more information, that's more insight, that changes perception. it's always good.
I wish you the best on that side, and I also wish myself the best, because if you get something, for sure I will be like I will be some like one of the players of your game, especially if the character is there.
Now let me ask you one last sexist question. What are you wearing? Because I see that you've got that little so what are you wearing?
It's a personalized t-shirt, and I made the whole thing. I just want to feel like I belong to something, and it's my thing, so I belong to that. I mean, it's
I love it.
my show, but
so dang.
So again, for people that are just like listening to, they're not watching on YouTube. This is also like the mug. The mug is beautiful. Of course, has the yellow, which is my favorite color.
It's beautiful. I love that, the yellow. It's very, very chic.
Yellow's for the win. I love it. I love to wear color for things.
I love yellow too. It's one of my favorites.
But guess what? When I just to talk a little bit about like fashionable things, because I know I catch you with that, and I'm very I like it. I'm very, it's not even nice to say girlish, because what has to be, but I am like that. I like the colors, and when when I go to Italy, in theory is the fashion place, where people should. I am told more things the way I dress up than here. So for example, I wear Japanese pants, for example, this very moment, that they look exactly like a skirt. I have a white pair of sneakers. I won't say the brand, and then I put yellow fluorescent shoelaces. And then I was wearing before like a pink t-shirt. So pink t-shirt, black skirt, white shirt and white shoes with those shoelaces. And in Italy, people would make fun of me. Incredible. It was like, either they have also the male version of that, or it was like, oh, well, put one more color on. And I think like, but I think I'm so fucking cool. Sorry for the swearing.
Yeah.
I think I'm so cool with all those colors. I mean, like, why not? Why? And
I mean, so to me, fashion is play. Like I like. It is a game. That's why I made a game. I don't see it because it's identity play. It's almost like a spy game, because you're like, I changed my outfit and now I'm someone else. Like, and sometimes in life, because I feel like I can get too much in my head. I dress the part, to feel more like I'm part of the community. So like first few times at GDC, I wear a hoodie. Like, so that I don't feel like I'm not part of the crowd, we do that, we do like this, we have our skins. And I think that people don't look at it enough as more fun than, and it's taken too seriously as your identity, where I'm like, identity is pretty malleable,
Yeah, malleable. I like the word malleable. It's this just to conclude like a little story still, like on the dressing. Like there was do you know Reboot developed this conference in Dubrovnik, Croatia?
Yeah.
It's happening the end of the month. I'm going there again. But the first year I went there was like 5 years ago or something like that. And I remember that I arrived there and I had my polo and I was dressed not at all elegant. And I remember that the first day of Reboot, at some point I said, okay, enough. Because I felt like so bad because everyone was short and, Panthera, Iron Maiden t-shirts. And I was like, I don't think I fit. And then I ran to the first shop. I bought like a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. And then I had to do it. I had to do it, even though there is one great learning that I got from. I was working in the past for Stronic, and like there was a CEO that once told me this thing that I think I didn't have like great relationship with him, but he passed me this beautiful teaching that he told me like that, Pietro, be who you are and who you want to be intelligently. Meaning, because he was telling me, when you go, you can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
But are you sure you want to be that person also when you're doing business? If you're doing business, or if you're you're going to be judged, do it if you want.
So I was like a raging goth dressed up when I was in my 20s, right? Like I literally have walked outside in a full PVC cat suit as if that was a normal thing to do. And here was my reasoning, okay? My reasoning was that...
Tell me your reasoning.
this is great.
Go.
If superheroes can do it, why can't I?
Perfect. Yeah, right. No, it's true.
Like I'm supposed to aspire to these superhero levels. Why the fuck can't I go out in a catsuit? I learned very quickly why. I got propositioned for how much it would cost to spend the night with me quite a bit that evening. Apparently, they did not see me as a superhero. That was not. I get it. That was not what ended up being the case. So, I got like but I would. So I used to dress like really, really pretty outrageous, and I loved that. And most of it was, and I really liked dressing goth and kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because I was teased a lot when I was a kid, and so I just wanted to look really unapproachable. Like I just wanted to look like I could bite your head off because I just didn't want anyone to bother me would do. And I felt quite comfortable in it. But I realized that when I would go into job interviews, and of course like that, they would be like, and they're like, and you are which religion? And then I started to dress more like down, I guess. But I wouldn't say like not without my own... I always kind of started just naturally also being interested in different fashion cultures. Like I wasn't felt like that was me going to be me forever. I got excited about like, oh, what does graphic designers dress like? You know, what do artists dress like? Oh, and there's this type of style. So I just loved all the styles, and I was like, well, I can change my style. So I started dressing different. And then I realized that when dressing more like everybody else, you know, I was chameleon, right? But I felt like in the end I was kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing, you know, because I had a bunch of intellect around this, but I was coming in to be able to be part of the conversation instead of just, you know, completely conforming. So it wasn't about, as you said, I love that dress. Be yourself intelligently, and I think that's essentially what I did, because apparently you're not a superhero if you wear a catsuit.
So I think today is all the time that we have for today. And Eliza, I think we're gonna meet soon. Hopefully, I will be in Helsinki probably for PG Connect in September.
You'll definitely see me there.
And you will definitely see me there too. So. That's point number one. Point number two, I'm going to reboot, since we were talking about reboot, and I promise everyone who's listening or watching that I will not be dressed up too elegantly again. I will probably have my pink shirts and stuff like that, so I will definitely try to feel myself. I know I can do it there. So if you're going to reboot, you know, send me an email, do something. I would be happy to meet you guys. Eliza, thank you for everything you have shared with us. It was beautiful. I love your story, the story of your company, and I really hope to see more from you in the future, because there is so much greatness that you can bring to this community, to this industry. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. And so this is all for today. My name is Mario. Episode, I think, is 6 at this point with Eliza. See you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.